Alright guys, for you guys that don't know me, my name's Arsh. I've been trading for about 6 years, 5 years, 4 years, or 4 to 5 years in leverage, but I've been in the market for about 6 years. Started off with stocks back in 2018, 2019, stopped that, and then got into crypto heavily. Um, I'm a swing trader by nature, so most of my trades do take a while to play out. I give limit orders and I wait patiently for them. Um, Being in the market for so long, I had to adapt to different trading styles. So if you guys see my charts are completely like nude. I have no indicators on them, just lines, supply and demand zones, and I use Confluence with like patterns and trend lines, and that's how I trade. I don't use fibs unless I have to in price discovery. So if I have data to the left of my screen, that's what I'm going to use. And again, this is off trial and error. I've used every indicator possible. I've used MACD, volume profile, EMAs, all those, but I just found no success. I found when you keep it simple, um, it's been paying off for me heavily, and I haven't had a red month since 2021. So although I trade seldom now, I probably trade like 2 or 3 times a week. Sometimes max I hit like 30 trades a month, but with my swing trades, they're more optimal, obviously, in a better trading condition in an uptrend or in a downtrend. But when it's chopped like this, and I try swing trading, not pretty good results. So I just stick to quick scalps. And when I give scalps, and I will give them more accordingly moving forward, um, you know, people put TPs or signal callers give TPs out and stuff, and a lot of people just wait for them to fill. But if you want to make profits and keep your profits, if you're in good profits on a 1 or 2% move, take that. Don't wait for TPs to hit, or at least trim, move your stop loss. Because if you are waiting for TPs to hit and you go to bed and don't play stop losses, one, you'll wake up in disappointment. Two, you might get lucky, right? But it's better to compound your trades and your profits than trying to go for the home run trade every single time. And that's what I've been doing ever since 2020. I've been, I've taken multiple 1K accounts to 6 figures, 7 figures, by just compounding gains, hitting a certain amount of goals a week, even days. So like some days I don't even trade. Like I don't trade on weekends. So when you have 1 or 2% gains a week, or 2%, 3% gains a week, then in the long run it adds up. So that's my trading style. Again, very simple, and I've been doing this for so long that I've had multiple classes and courses taught over the years. I do one course a month, about 25 people in each course in other servers, and hopefully my videos that I've been posting out here on Twitter, YouTube, have been helping out so you guys can see a brief glimpse of how I trade. Um, but again, I'm here to help, and any questions that you guys have, please ask me in chats. My DMs, I get about 40 to 50 DMs a week, so if I'm late on answering those, apologies, but I do answer them. So let's go ahead and um, answer any questions that you may have before we get into taking a look at charts. I can only stay till 1 o'clock, so I have 50 minutes left before I've got to head back into work. I am a full-time accountant. I work about 70 hours a week, so this is why I've accumulated the trading style of swing trades, because it allows me to get into those positions and hold them while I work and not constantly staring at my charts 24/7. So that's my trading style. Any questions I can go ahead and answer. What's up, Snooze? And then if you have, coins and any charts you guys want me to take a look at, we'll go ahead and do that. I'll cover a few charts that I usually do. We'll talk about Bitcoin dominance, and then I'll take a look at any charts you guys have requested. Wait for people to type, and then if no questions asked, then I'll go ahead and get started. Let's get some things ready. I'll wait for people to type while I go over Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then we'll go over Bitcoin dominance. And tomorrow is the CPI, so if you guys are in trades, just be careful. But let's go over Bitcoin and Ethereum first. So if you've been watching my videos, and I don't expect you guys to, I just go over a bunch of alpha, but I cover Bitcoin and Ethereum every single time. I mentioned that 29.5, anything below it should have not been shorted. Now 29.5 was previous range lows, okay? And we deviated below, and anything below a deviation, usually if you have a bottom basing like this, a cup forming, right, it's going to indicate a move to the upside. So people that are shorting here had no reason to, unless we closed below, turn that 29.5 into rejection, into resistance, and close below. So like here's the close below, there's the rejection and close below, right? Every time we confirmed this resistance, that's when you should have shorted, but you shouldn't have shorted down here, right? When you have a base forming like this, it's usually a move to the upside. And same with rounding tops. Now this is a daily, right? Well, here's another base. But if you go on the 4-hour and you see anything coming with like a rounded formation, right? It's a base on the upside, and that usually means the downside, right? So these are deviations. This is also a deviation. Now, when you see deviations forming, you want triggers to long, right? So for example, on the 4-hour, we reclaimed this 4-hour back on Tuesday the 1st, right? But we never retested it successfully, okay? Whereas here, we reclaimed, retested, and then if you had longed on that retest, we went to the upside, right? And that was a nice, like what, 1%, 2% move? Yeah. So you want to have confirmations before you long anything. Now, this happened on the 4-hour, but if you had gone on the lower time frame, right, you would have caught the retest. There's the breakout, there's the retest, we closed above. You could have longed here. Even if you longed here on the daily or on the 1-hour, you would have caught a nice $500 move on Bitcoin, right? Now, I wouldn't long here at the moment because the longer we consolidate on support, okay, and we have actually had a significant retest of this trend line that we broke out from. So I wouldn't long here. On the 4-hour, we're currently below the 29,500, and the 4-hour closes in about an hour or 45 minutes. So we want to keep this as support, right? Because if we close below here and turn it into resistance, as we did here, we have another deviation or a rounded formation forming, and then it's going to signal down to the low side, right? I've mentioned a few times in other servers and if you guys follow me on Twitter or the videos, that this gray box, this 28.2 to 28.6 level is a very crucial support. Why? It was previous range highs. Okay, so here's range highs, here's range lows. We had the deviation here, and we reclaimed it. Right, there's a confirmation to long, and then over here it was range highs. We had the deviation, and then we lost it. Right, so if we lose this level, this gray box, and we turn it into resistance, we can have exactly what we had here: a support turn into resistance to the downside. Right, support turn into resistance to the downside. Now on a macro level, I'm going to go on a different chart really quickly. On a macro level, as long as we are holding this 25.1 down to 24.6 level, so basically this zone here, as long as we are holding this, I am macro bullish. Why? Because we haven't broken market structure. As long as we're holding in this, well, first of all, this is a bearish rising wedge, but as long as we are holding this trend line, I'm bullish, okay? So we haven't made another higher low yet. So if we do come back down to this trend line, that's where I expect a possible long, and that long can come anywhere from 27.7 down to 27.3, okay? Basically this here, this zone. So I expect a long there. We've been bouncing. The trend is your friend, so you'll long until broken. I wouldn't short until we either reach a high macro resistance, which I will go over shortly, or we lose this trend line and turn it into resistance, right? So none of that has happened yet. Um, Now if we take a look at this fractal, see we had a deviation here, lost it, turned into resistance, came back down. Deviation here, lost it, we actually turned into resistance. That was a good short opportunity. And we again rejected from this 29.8 level. Okay, so for me personally, although we had that low time frame support at 29,500 that I showed recently, here it is, this 29.5, I need this to hold in the 4-hour, but what I need to hold on the daily for me to confidently long is we need to flip this 29.8 level, and then you can long back up to 32K, right? Now we go on lower time frames again, and this is what I have given in chats and in my channel where to possibly short. Let me get rid of some of these. So the first level to short where you can take a short scalp is actually going to be this 30.45 level, okay? It was resistance, right? We lost it, turned to resistance, we rejected near it again. So I expect a rejection from this level with a possible DCA at 3770-ish, okay? And then you'll play it again down to range lows. That's a scalp. So for scalps, although you have your DCAs, don't wait for final TPs to hit. You're looking for like 1 to 2% moves, okay? So like this should be a TP, right? If you're happy with the profits, you should take it. But again, you're going to take profits at levels of support. So if we do break up here, right, we fill, this would be a possible SR region, support resistance region, right? So that you take TP there, you'll take profit there, and then you take profit there, right? So don't, as long as TPs are given from the signal callers, there are just areas of resistance and support where you should be taking profit. However, you should take profit at levels that are good for you, or at profit levels that are good for you. If you made $300 on a play, right, and you're waiting for TP to hit and you round trip the profits, then that's a lost opportunity. So you want to trim at least, then move your stop loss. But in terms of scalps for swings, scalps are going to be very quick plays. It can be 10 minutes, 15 minutes, hour plays, whereas swing trades are going to be hours to days to possible weeks. So in terms of Bitcoin, 30.45 to 30.77 is the short scalp, and then I'm looking to swing short Bitcoin on a different account at 30.7, and my DCA will come around 31.2-ish, so the top of this order block here. And I'm going to have a manual stop loss, and I will close it once 31K gets flipped to support on the daily, which we have not done. Okay, here is the 31K level. I'll make it blue. Until this level is flipped to support on the daily, I will close out my trade manually and take a small loss. So yes, we can go up to 32K, 32.5K. It's a manual stop loss on a 2 to 3x leverage. And I'm looking to swing this all the way back down to at least 25K. Now, the reason I say 32K is because of this rising wedge. Right? The top of this rising wedge is around 32.5K, which is also resistance. So I expect a rejection there and then play this until broken. So that's short-term and long-term analysis for Bitcoin. I have a full video of like 30 minutes on this that I made a month ago on my channel. But in terms of longs, I'm not going to long until this 29,500 is flipped on the 4-hour, which I gave here, right? Oops. So I want to see a 4-hour close above and possible long to about 30K again. Otherwise, I do think that we go to test this order block at 29,100-ish. And a scalp can be taken there with stop loss below previous lows. Hopefully back up to 30.4K. So it's a 2.3-hour trade. You're risking 2%. On scalps and swing trades, the risk tolerance is a little bit different. Scalps, I'm not risking more than 2% of my portfolio. That's including DCAs. And swing trades, I can risk up to about 5% of my portfolio. Now, swing trades, are for those that are patient and can wait out days possibly. If you're not able to do so, then I would suggest sticking to scalp plays. It's just scalp plays. You have to be monitoring your charts and your phone or your computer by every 15-10 minutes because moves happen fast. So those are the triggers that I'm looking for Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin dominance. So we rejected from resistance, which led to some alts bouncing, right? For Bitcoin dominance, you want to long Bitcoin usually at support, and you want to long alts at resistances when they reject. So here was a perfect time. Sol went for a little run, but right now volume is decaying a bit because of FO or the CPI report tomorrow. So I would be careful in alts right now because if Bitcoin dominance is increasing and we get to support, which we are slowly getting to at 50.25, it was previous range highs that we flipped to support and ran. I think Bitcoin starts getting all the volume again. Alts slowly go up, but as soon as Bitcoin dips, then alts die. So I'd be careful in alts at the moment. I do see that we have Injective to go over, so I'll go over that soon. But with Bitcoin dominance slowly rising, I do think that the volume and the profits are going to be slowly heading into Bitcoin soon once we get to a good area of support, which is probably going to be around 50.2 to 50.24%, which is also a demand zone here. All right. So let's start taking a look at a few coins here. Someone tagged me in a different channel. One sec. Okay, let's take a look at Injective. I cleared my chart out for the most part. I did go over this heavily, but we have a supply zone on the 4-hour here at 8.6. That's where I'm looking to short. So the short setup will look something like this. Okay. The reason for that being is, again, supply zone, right? We have a possible head and shoulders. Now, I don't really play this pattern. It's a meme pattern. But if we do bounce up, right, and then reject, you have your right shoulder. And the technical target for this, you grab it from the top to the neckline, is around 6 or 550, 570, right? Now, that's where I'm looking to short. In terms of longs, it's getting very risky to long Injective here. The reason for that is because this, let's go on the daily, let me show you on the daily. The 7.8 level is very crucial. Okay, it was previously resistance. Again, we had this rounded top deviation to the downside. We turned it into resistance there, and then we flipped it to support. Okay, once we flipped it to support, we went higher. Now again, we bounced from support once, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's getting weaker and weaker. So for me, as long as Bitcoin chops and doesn't go down, Injective should hold. However, with the amount of touches we've had at support and we turn this into resistance, I see downside. and I want to long personally at $7.17, which I do think we will get, but that's tricky because that would be a loss of a high time frame diagonal support, right? It could be a quick wick and then recover, which I'm hoping for, but if we get this fill here, I'm hoping for a move up to my short region, taking profits at resistances. So if we fill here, my first TP will come around 740, and then again at the trend line, and then my last TP will be at the short area. But in my opinion, on a 4-hour, some will say this is a bear flag. Some will say this is a ascending triangle, or not ascending triangle, descending wedge. We lose this trend line here on the 4-hour, then we should go down to this bottom trend line at $7.32. But again, it comes with confirmation, because if we lose the trend line and we turn this 780 into resistance, we are for sure going down. This is a crucial bounce point here for injective. I personally wouldn't long until this level of resistance is flipped to support, and then we go higher. But we have a 1, 2, 3, 4. This is it. This is a definite bounce point because this is wave 5. So if it doesn't bounce here, it's dead. So for me, I'm not longing until 7.23 is flipped to support. But we also can take a possible short. It's going to be a scalp short at this 8.3 level. Resistance, resistance. We never had a clean reclaim. We've bounced off of it, but then as soon as we lost it, we turn it into resistance. So if we do go up here again at 7.3, you could take a scalp short. Stops above 7.42, 1%, and then ride it back down to range bottoms. So it's a 5-hour trade. But again, I do think that we should wait until 7.25 to 7.3 level is flipped to support until we can long it. Otherwise, this looks weak to me. And again, depends on Bitcoin. H bar. All right. So let's plot our key levels. This was support, right? Resistance, we were never able to flip it. We reclaimed it, bounced, right? And then we lost it, rejected from it. So this is a key SR region, and we are holding on to it. If we close the daily below this, you want to see if we close the next candle below on the daily, so tomorrow's daily. But look, we're having a rounded top. So this could be a possible deviation, and then head back into the range that we had before. Right? So range low, high, and we're possibly deviating here again. Again, no longs for me here. I want to see how this 4-hour would form if we are going to deviate, which we've had 3 red candles. All right, so if we bounce, it's going to be from here. There's a demand zone here. But it could be something like bounce back up here and reject. right? So there's confirmations along this area, higher high, higher low, higher high, possibly another higher low here, demand zone, possible diagonal trend line support, but we want to see what happens ultimately at this level. If we reject from it, possible short. Stop loss you'd have to go on a lower time frame to find, because you can't really scalp so something like that. You'd go in small, like 15%. I do 15, 35, 50, but you can go in small here, and for easy confirmation, you can add more once the trend line is broken. So we come here, right? You scalp long, you hedge short here, lose the trend line, reject, you can add more to your position here, and then now your stop loss, because you've already filled here, you'd lower it to wherever I can't give you a stop loss confirmation yet, but somewhere up above here once you add it here. Someone's got a hot mic. So again, I suggest not being in any plays up until tomorrow after CPI, because when we have government news, it could affect the market. Volume is low right now, so I think everyone is sidelined. A few, maybe 10 or 15 traders are trading Bitcoin at the moment, waiting for this news to happen, and then we see some volatility, or we see volatility pick up later tonight in London session, and then slow down again pre-CPI, and then after CPI you see some more data and volume forming. STG. I've never traded this coin, or at least I don't think so. Yeah. Okay. So right off the bat, I can possibly see a little bull flag. Now we have the bottom trend line here. Let's plot our resistances on a higher time frame and circle down. Okay. So resistance, right? We deviated, cup, deviated, cup. Back on the 4 hour. All right. So in my opinion, if we were to long, it would be on, if we go on a lower time frame, and those want to play breakouts. I don't play breakouts, I do retests. You're waiting for breakout, successful retest. See how these never had a successful retest? We broke out, right? But then we closed again below. Broke out, closed below. So you want to see a breakout, close above, right? And then a retest, also close above. Then you will long with your stops probably here. Otherwise, this candle here is a reversal candle. However, this candle here, it looks flat and signals more to the downside. So if I were to possibly long this, I'd like to long around 60 cents. There's demand zone there. It was also, it's a retest of previous deviation point. Okay, deviation, back to range lows, deviated before, reclaimed it. So it's going to be not only a retest of deviation, you have a demand zone as well. possible SR region as well. So you have three confluences for this long. And I don't use fibs, but another confirmation would be the 0.236 fib. So for me, that's where I would long. Otherwise, wait for the if you're scalping this, wait for the breakout and retest of this bull flag. And again, this is proven to be resistance, right? I would short this until broken. It hasn't been broken yet, but I assume with these wicks that we're having on these candles that this is a very illiquid coin. So there's going to be scam wicks that could stop you out. Yeah, like these. What are these? 3%. This looks like an illiquid coin. I've never traded it, so let me know if it is. Just be careful with those. But if you were to take a short, again, technical targets for this bull flag would be at resistance. So a short such as this with possible stops above here, back down to range lows. Take profit. And the last one down there. So let me actually post these in chats, and I'll post injective as well. I would long that demand zone, by the way, so it looks something like this. I'm personally not doing so. I don't trade these coins, but if I were, that would be the area to do so. Or a retest of that breakout point. And let me get injective really quickly. All right. Okay. Waves. Bybit. Okay. Does this coin move? All right. So we found support, low time frame support, or actually this is daily support on $1.83. Again, we bounced from it like about 7 times, so it's getting weaker and weaker. Now, if we're just range trading, right here is your range high. Let's do this. Range high, range low, right? Long range low, short range high until broken. Now I don't know how this coin really moves. I haven't traded this since like I don't know when, but we see that we have a possible base forming on the hour, on the 4 hour, right? So we bounced from it, lost it, turned to resistance, deviated, came back. Here's your deviation possibly. So for me, we're holding an SR point, meaning it was previously resistance, and we're possibly testing it as support. I just don't know if the risk to reward is there to trade a 2 cent move back up to the trend line. but a possible point to long demand zone there. Enter in light at entry, maybe again at support, and then it's going to be a manual cut if we close a 4-hour below this. But I don't think the risk to reward is there to trade this coin. This coin only pumps on bad news in Russia and Ukraine. How's the market doing? Yeah. So I'll post this as well. So yeah, long would look something like this. I don't think it's a good long, so again, be very weary if you do enter this because the risk to reward sucks. But I definitely would short up here if we get it again. Back down to range. So you'll play the range until broken, right? You'll long range lows and short range highs until broken. Now, if we do go back up to range highs, you can have a possible head and shoulders forming, right? So here is your, or sorry, inverse head and shoulders, right? We go up there, reject. There's your head that's formed, and then we come back down, possibly back to here, and go back up, and you have your right shoulder. Technical targets for that: 2.35, which should send you right into resistance along with supply. You shorted 1.8732. So your best hope would be you can possibly add to your position if this turns into resistance. You're waiting for the 4-hour close in 15 minutes. It's closing right on it. So I wouldn't add right here, but if we drop down and close below, right, next 4-hour closes below as well, you can add to your short and then possibly get out break even. But it's, oh, you longed. Oh, okay. Well, then you should definitely take profits here because it looks like it might deviate. Here, let me. So that's the setup for waves. Any other coins you guys want me to look at? Let's take a look at Sol. This is what I want to get into. Alright. So for Sol, we missed it briefly, but I was hoping for a move into this supply area resistance to short it. We're about 40 cents short, but we are holding the trend. Let's go to this one. And we had a deviation, right? We reclaimed it, bounced. Again, another reclaim of this deviation point, and this is why I say, like, if you wait for retests of previous deviation points that are also SR levels, right, it's going to offer a nice bounce, which right here we broke out, retested, held above, and had a almost 4% move up, right? So 24 is a very crucial level to hold because if we don't hold it, right, then we have another deviation back into possible range, right? Rejected. So the point where I would possibly get long would be this order block here. And stops below the wick. It's a very wide stop, so I would go in with light position and DCA possibly around 22.75, or again on the support here, which should lower your DCA points should always be more than your entry, right? So you should always enter light to give yourself that room for error, and then DCA heavy on that dip. But you don't want to DCA just to DCA. You want to DCA at levels of support. So I see a lot of people, not in this server, but in my other servers, that DCA just to get out break even, and they panic and they put themselves in the situation where, or some people that go in all at entry, right, and then they get liquidated before their stop loss hits. So understanding risk management is a huge thing in trading leverage. But if we do lose this 24 area, that's where I'd be looking to long. DCA strategy 12.5, 12.5, 20. Yep, that's perfect. As long as if you have a DCA strategy where, works for you, where it's, your entry is 12.5, your second entry is 12.5, that should bring you break. Like, so if this was your entry, right, and this is your DCA, that should make your entry about exactly half that. But if you go in, let's say 15% here or 30% here, that will lower your average closer to your DCA point. But if you, and there's no wrong way to DCA, right? Everyone has their own. But if you do, 60% entry and then you do 40% at DCA, that's wrong, because now your entry is going to be closer to your average entry is going to be closer to your initial entry, right? You want, personally for me, I do 15, 30. So that would already, like if this was 15, this was 30, and this was 50, right? My entry at DCA 1 would be closer to that, and then 50% would bring it down to about here, right? So again, as long as you have something as your second entry or your first DCA point matches or is greater than your initial entry, you're doing it right. But you want the heavier bits to be towards the bottom. 33% for 3D, or your entry, I'm assuming, is 33%, and your DCAs are 33% each. That works. Your last entry will bring it closer to the first DCA point, but it won't be that bad of an average. So that's what I'm looking for if this 24 level is lost. Of course, I get out of it. Right. So we resistance here, we turn into support. We should technically bounce from here, but if we do lose it into resistance, then I'm looking for this to fill, or another point that could front run us is here, 23.46 or 47ish. Why? That was previous resistance turned to support, right? Resistance, resistance, and then we broke out. So this is an SR region that we haven't flipped to support yet, so we could bounce from that point as well. But ultimately, I would love this order block to get filled. AVAX. Let me clear this out. I was just doing this for my class recently. All right. Okay. So let's plot this point down. Actually, there. So this 12.23, very important daily support, right? Support. We deviated, reclaimed it, deviated, reclaimed it, deviated, reclaimed it, but we've had 4 touches of this area. We need to hold this to go higher on a lower time frame. Okay. This is the, or was the neckline for the head and shoulders, right? Head, shoulder, broke down, retested it down. So we are back in this range here. So an area to possibly short, if we do get back up here, even if it's a quick wick, would be this 1305 region to about 1320. Something like that. Back down to range lows. Okay. I'm going to long to that area. Okay, perfect. Where'd you long from? Here? We want to see this trend line hold. Okay, so this trend line should be in confluence with an SR area. Yep. Deviated, go back above. So we should hold this 12.42 area. Otherwise, we'll go back down to range lows. And again, when you're in a range, you're going to play the range until broken. But just be cautious. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The more touches of support, the weaker it's going to be. 6. Okay. So if you're going in, I'd go in with reduced size. You can be confident in a trade when support has been touched less and less, or when resistance has been touched less and less. But because we've had 6 touches, you'd go in with reduced size. Now on a higher time frame, actually let's go on a scalp time frame. This chart looks ugly. Yeah, we want this. Here's a 15-minute order block. You definitely want this to hold. It's like there's your scalp. That would be a scalp. Yeah, market's bleeding. When markets are bleeding like this, you want to focus on coins that are holding well against Bitcoin. So you want to take a look at the BTC pairing, right? And I can tell you Link has been holding extremely well. So if the market bounces, Link's going to bounce hard. Sol, obviously, and Doge. Doge is only holding well because everyone's anticipating Elon Musk to tweet about it, right? So those are coins you want to focus on. And again, you want to focus on coins that are holding well against Bitcoin. So for example, Link. See, Bitcoin's going down, but this chart's going up. So you want to focus on charts that look like this when Bitcoin's going down. Okay. It tried to attempt a breakout. The daily looks good. However, the only thing that's possibly, telling me that the USDT pairing is going back is we had a clear of these highs. And if we close the daily below this, then it tells me that we're going to probably go back down. And the Bitcoin pairing, that's the long point. USDT pairing. Long point probably comes at this order block. But the only reason I'd be pretty cautious here, we've had 3 dailies, green, so it's great. But we had this trend line that was broken. We had a reclaim of it. So if we close above this trend line, we should continue higher, right? But we are actually at a supply zone. So it makes sense for us to pull back here. We actually did also reject from this daily order block. So I would love to long 7.25-ish if we get it. Otherwise, 7.35 is going to front run us, and 7.35 is an SR point, right? It was rejection at resistance, rejection at resistance, flipped it to support, lost it, we reclaimed it, so this should hold. Now for those that know harmonics, if you guys can harmonicize this for me, because if my levels are right, we should go back to this level, which is a definite buy point for accumulation. Anything below this is definite accumulation for higher prices. No, I don't use any indicators. I'm simple, and this is what I've been trading. If you keep your strategy simple by using support and resistance, supply and demand zones, you can make a lot of money. The only indicators that I use that I teach my class, and I call them indicators, but they're not, is going to be again, I don't call these I call these indicators, but they're not. Is Bitcoin dominance, USDT dominance, basically these, the dollar, DXY, and basically, if you guys honestly, I won't go into explaining how USDT dominance works here because it takes about 2 hours to do in depth detail. But if you guys can learn or understand USDT dominance and what it is and how it affects the crypto market, you can trade just solely off that. Like, you don't have to follow any coins, you can just solely trade off USDT dominance. So back to AVAX. I wonder if it can take these lows out and then close above. Then you should possibly see a move back up to here. If it closes the 15-minute above this swing low point, we've taken liquidity, and we should go back up to at least 12.62. Otherwise, the other 15-minute comes at this OB. Lose that, then you get the 4-hour range low support at 12.22. So I'll post these. Yeah, I closed below. We should head lower. Cool. I got maybe one more coin in me before I have to head back to work, but this is recorded, so I'll post it on my YouTube channel. I'll also give it to Caleb so he can post it on Unity's, whatever he wants to do with that. But I'll post it on my channel as well. But I got one more coin in me. What do you guys want to see? OP. Okay, I'll do OP-matic quickly. That's it. Holy shit, this coin died. Alright, this is a bit messy because I went over it on my stream, but okay. So, The reason why I don't use any indicators, again, as opposed to what I said earlier, is it's just noise. If you can just use the simple lines, just here's two. I know this is hindsight trading, but if we were back here in time, or even here, right, just having these lines drawn, you would have known when to short, when to long. Okay. Let's just use these three for example. Okay. So this line here, we flipped to resistance. We broke down resistance, came back down, right? Again, rejected, rejected, rejected. Unable to flip it to support. All of we briefly did over here, right? And then we had that move up, but again, we lost it, rejected. We flipped it to support and had the move up. Okay. Here is that trend line. As soon as we lost it, you could have taken a short and then we came back down. Now we've created a supply zone here. So if we go back up to here, a possible short can be taken. Right. In terms of longs, we need to reclaim this level. We closed the 4-hour below. So we either bounce here to possibly 1.58-ish, 159-ish, or the next logical point to long is going to be this order block here. And whoops. Take profit there, take profit there. Hopefully we go back there, take profit. Let's take a look at this on a higher time frame. Yeah, that would be an SR point. Rejection, rejection. We flipped it to support right there. Yep. But on a daily, very important level to hold as well. Right? Rejection. We broke out. This is the SR point. We need to hold it on the daily. However, we had yesterday a bearish engulfing candle. This one too. So like this needs to hold and we need to have a green candle. If we have another red candle tomorrow, this should go further down. Eventually, I do think that we do head back down sub $1 to about 80 cents, and that's where you should load up on this coin. I mean, we can draw another trend line here. Another logical bounce point would be there. So let me just post these charts really quickly. All right. Last coin, Matic. Also looks disgusting. Let's take a look. All right. Crucial level to hold, otherwise it's going to be another deviation. Right? Deviation. Deviation once we rejected. Deviation. resistance, resistance. So possible another deviation point if we turn this level into resistance. I don't like this chart. I think it looks disgusting, but this is what needs to hold. 65.7. Okay. If I take away all these little deviation points, you see on a higher time frame that this could be a possible head and shoulders, right? But we're not going to play the cock and balls pattern really quickly. We're going to short if we lose 65.7 into, if we lose this as support, then you're waiting for the retest to happen, just like it did here. We lost it, retested, it came back down. That's when you'll short it. If we deviate here, right, again, you're looking for this, just like it did here, broke down, retested, closed below. You open the short and you write it back down to range lows. You can open a long if you shorted a hedge long here at range lows and just play this range until broken, right? Because we're back into this mid range, or not mid range, but like this previous range here since the 31st. Lower time frame for those that are wanting to scalp this coin. I don't even know what this is. 67.62 could be a possible scalp attempt. The R and R is not there in my opinion. I don't think any of these other areas hold if, yeah, I think this goes back down to range lows. That would be a scalp attempt. And yeah, you have this 15-minute OB here, which would be imperfect with the range lows. So again, just I would be patient on alts, as I mentioned at the beginning, because of Bitcoin dominance. Right, we're getting into support. Actually, I came down faster than I expected to, but this is a demand zone. We should bounce from here, and it should lead to. I don't have here. Let me share this chart really quickly. One sec. So understanding this chart that I just posted will notify you when to be in alts and when not to be. Right? So Bitcoin dominance is decreasing, right? But if Bitcoin decreases as well here, then alts should hold. But if we bounce from here and Bitcoin continues to decrease, then alts just die, right? That's the option 2. So understanding this chart can help you with when to be in positions and when not to be in terms of altcoins. And right now, I would be stable or on the sidelines with alts and wait for high time frame levels to hit, whether you're shorting or longing, and just focus on Bitcoin, which I do think that we could head back down to 29 down to 28.8. So this 4-hour order block that I gave at the beginning. Yeah, that one. So these are the setups that I'm waiting for on Bitcoin. So that's it for me. I gotta head back to work here, but